Any place where there was a decent hill on the farm or across the road, we'd go skiing, and then you had to get back up the hill too. No tow then there.
But a lot of them, and I'm thinking these ones over here, they probably got land in Montreal or in Scotland, came over and said, what the hell, and they took off.
Well, my grandfather came and settled, and his name was MacMurchey, and so that's why the little corner schoolhouse was called MacMurchey School, a mile up the road. In the summer and the good weather, we walked, and in the winter, we had rides with whoever could take us with their horse and cutter or sleigh. There were already events held, which they had a lot of dances there, which were fun. I lived in a wonderful spot where the Silver Creek ran across the front of the house, and it was really nice spot. Well, it was just a general farm where they had a little bit of everything. Raised, cattle and pigs and sheep. She found this flint in the farm, just actually while my father was plowing. And Norman Emerson was the head of that group, and he lived around Collingwood. And so he I guess he was associated with the university and made arrangements for them to come and do what they called a dig. Pieces of pottery and lots of things, so. Well, there's not much left of that now. It was a doctor had built this castle for his wife, and then she got quite ill and passed away, and then he sort of just gave up the castle and left it as it was. Dishes and silverware and everything was left in this castle.
Pretty River Valley is on the corner of, well, it runs, people say it runs from, say, the 10th line of Nottawasaga Township and the West Church Side Road right up to Rob Roy, which is over in Osprey Township. They call that all the Pretty River Valley. But the community of the Pretty River Valley was actually from Buskelton's Road, which is actually Nottawa Side Road, comes up where the bridge is in Ottawa, goes straight up. That's where the Pretty River Valley community north boundary was. Don Gillies opened the post office. He also let them build a church. Baptist church was up in the valley, and next to it was a temperance hall. But when this post office closed here, they moved it from there over to Osprey Township. 2 schools. There was one up here on Adam Barr's property. That was the first one, and that was. So what that school, that was from like 1856, I believe, or 1854. They built a school there, and the first teacher was a Mr. Smith. So back in those days, most of the time, there were women teachers. So the women teachers, and they're always single. Married women weren't teachers. There was always single women. So the single women would go and they'd board with a local farmer. like with the local farmer's family. That way they didn't need a residence. Well, the first school there, this Smith said, hang on, I don't want to be living at anybody's house. I want my own residence if I'm gonna come and live there and teach there. So what they did was they built a combination school and residence. But that school, they were actually going to rebuild it in about 1896, I think. And there was an argument whether they were going to build a new one or whether they were going to fix that one up. So before they got to fix it up, it burnt down. Up here at this corner right here, just around the corner from where the Snowmobile Club parking lot is in the valley, this next corner, that was the next school that they built, and that was a brick school. And it was there until, I think the last classes they had there were 1964. I remember the building still standing, but I can't remember when they tore it down, but now it's all grown up. People wouldn't know that it was a school there, but I remember it being there. They would pick up their deeds in Montreal, or some of them picked up their deeds in Scotland. And they knew where the thing was. They had kind of rough maps how to get there, but they didn't know what the land was going to be like. Now, here's the thing that people don't know. What happens to somebody that comes along and he sees it as a farm that's unfarmable? I'll just move over to the one next to it. That happened. They'd come, and if that farm was unfarmable, move to the one next to it maybe, if nobody's there, and take a chance on it. Then somebody else shows up back there in the 1850s. If a family went missing, oh well, who knows? There was no connections. A lot of people left the farms in the valley, the rock farms, they were just subsistence living. They were just farming to feed themselves, because World War I industry was developed in Collingwood and surrounding communities. It was a lot easier to move into town, to work in industry, and you didn't have to farm these things and wonder if your crops are going to come up through the rocks and stuff like that. So a lot of them just walked away. That's why there was so much crown land up there. And they said, what are we going to do with it? Well, let's make a park. So then they said, well, it's going to be the Pretty River Valley Park. So every farm that touches the Pretty River, we're going to, if there's extra farms, we're going to buy them up.
Thank you for joining us. If this story resonated with you, the journey doesn't have to end here. Please visit our online exhibits to explore the communities we just visited in much greater depth. You'll find a collection of original photographs, personal letters, and archival records that bring these voices to life in a way we couldn't capture on screen alone. Next time on Towns of the Blue Mountains.
So we're located here at our farm is called Rockhaven Farm, and we're at the base of Metcalf Rock. And Rockhaven seems like a pretty perfect name for this area, just because there are a lot of rocks, and the soil is not that deep, and it doesn't take you long to find a rock. So.